Welcome to the Vision Driven Marriage Podcast. If you're struggling in your marriage, or maybe you're wondering if it's even salvageable, before you give up or before you let things get too hard, let us come alongside you and help you solidify your marriage. We offer biblical encouragement and insight to help you strengthen your marriage.
Welcome back to the Vision Driven Marriage Podcast. We're so excited to be here today. We are continuing with our talk on gratitude. And today we're looking at gratitude in action.
And so throughout the month of November, we've been looking at being thankful and what it really looks like to show gratitude toward your spouse and to be thankful in the everyday things. But today we're going to look at some practical ways you can apply that in your marriage. A lot of these things will just be encouragement to keep doing the good things you're doing. But some of them may be some things that you hadn't thought about, some things you're not currently doing. And so if any of those fit your situation, we want you to pick them up and take them, put them in your toolbox, and use them when it works.
One of the biggest things that we heard is, I don't have time. So I don't have time to fit things in, or I don't have time to think about being grateful all the time. And so some of the things that we're going to talk about today don't take much time. They're pretty quick and easy. I'll share with you one of the things that we do, that I've done for Doug, and that is leave him a note inside of his lunchbox in the mornings when he's ready to go. He'll get it at lunchtime. And so that's one of, and it's quick. That is a definite quick and easy way. But before we go on and talk about some other ways, I want to recap what we talked about last week. And if you didn't catch last week's episode, I would highly encourage you to go back and take a look at that, because it is a really important conversation about why gratitude really matters. It is really, really important. And the reason why is because it opens up the opportunity for openness and vulnerability within your relationship. We gravitate towards somebody who is grateful, right? And we gravitate away from people who criticize. That's human nature. So when we operate in an attitude of gratitude, I have to laugh every time I say that.
Tank full of thankful, a plate full of grateful.
But when we operate in an attitude of gratitude, it gives our spouse the opportunity to feel like they're safe in opening up to us, because they know that it's not going to be met with harsh criticism, or maybe not even any criticism at all. And so it's very important. Go back and take a listen to that episode last week, and you won't be sad that you missed it.
And so one of the things that we really wanted to focus on today is, as you start to incorporate gratitude and thankfulness into the daily routine, even when you're busy. It's going to start with a simple concept that you need to adapt to your own life. Okay, the concept's easy and it fits everybody. However, the way that it's used will be different based on what you're doing in your daily routine. Here's what it is. When you're thankful, say it out loud and say it more often, because every single day you have an opportunity to realize, I'm so thankful that she made my coffee. She didn't have to do that. Say it. Say it more often. I'm really thankful that he picked up his socks off the floor. Now I don't have to look at those smelly things until they go in the laundry. Say it. Be more grateful. And when we do, what it does is the fostering gratitude, fostering thankfulness is something that will then, as we mentioned last week, not only allow your spouse to feel safe and to be more vulnerable, but it's going to foster an attitude that provides gratitude in them as well. And so, we get to see what it looks like then to truly be kind, but it goes beyond kind. It goes into a stage showing an appreciation that lets your spouse know, I value you. Yeah. I recognize what you do. And let's be honest, how many times are you appreciative, but you don't let them know that you're recognizing what they do? So that's all we're asking you to do, is say it out loud and do it more often.
And I think one of the things that increases the value of the communication to your spouse is when you're specific about what you're actually thankful for. So when you say thank you, don't just say thank you. Say thank you for XYZ. Be specific about what you're thankful for.
Right.
Because that positive encouragement, that positive reinforcement is going to say to your spouse that that action is valuable to you.
Right. And when we start giving some things that you could use that maybe you're already doing, good for you, be encouraged. Maybe there's some things that you're like, that's a good idea, I should do that more often. Please pick them up and take them if they work for you. As we give you those things, I want to just take a little time out right now. Some of them are going to be things that could demonstrate love. They could demonstrate thankfulness. How do you know the difference?
Yeah, we just had
Communicate it.
Yeah, we just had that conversation about as we were running down the list,
Yep.
as we were prepping to deliver this content to you. It's like, well, these are acts of kindness or acts of love, but do they really show gratitude?
And that's where being specific comes in. Because one of the things that I was looking at that caused our conversation earlier is give your spouse a break from the things that they do that you appreciate. So if your spouse is always the one who picks up the kids after school and you have a day where you can do that for them and you appreciate that they do it and you know that it's something that they do with a heart of love, but it takes time out of the other things they're doing, be specific and say, honey, I love the fact that without ever complaining, you gladly take time out of your day and you go pick up the kids. I'm home today. Let me do that for you.
And I think that communication is what's important because normally that would just be like a love language, like an act of service, right? It would say, some of those things would say, I love you more than I appreciate you, unless you say,
be specific. And
I appreciate you.
And not only that I appreciate you, but let them know why you appreciate
Yeah.
it. I don't just appreciate that you pick up our children. I love that your day's busy and you gladly do it anyway, every day, gladly, even though it interrupts you. And I really am thankful for that. Communicate those things as specifically as you can, because those are the ones that are going to truly land home in a way that will encourage your spouse.
Yeah, I think so too. One of the other ways that can make it land home harder is to make it public.
Yep.
Have gratitude towards your spouse in front of your children.
Yeah.
What a way to foster gratitude, the attitude of gratitude in your children, than to publicly say, publicly show gratitude to your spouse in front of your children.
And it's going to do two things for sure when you share how thankful you are in front of your children. Number one, it's going to give your kids some security because when they know that you're thankful for your spouse and they know that you love your spouse, notice they're going hand in hand often, but be specific about the thankfulness. It gives them a security to know that they have something at home that is safe. But the second thing is if you do it often and you do it well, your kids are going to find themselves joining in being thankful towards your spouse too.
Absolutely. And there's a whole lot of ways where you can encourage your children also to have an attitude of gratitude. Encourage them to write a thank you note for their teachers or their friends when something good has gone on. Right. And I think writing notes, I think that's probably my favorite one because that's something that I did habitually is just write the notes for the girls or write a note for you, so that's really one of my favorites, just send me a thank you note. I'm not all that good at it. I could do it more, but I don't do it well enough all the time, but I do like
and
to
there
send
are
thank
the
you notes.
occasional times when, Leslie wakes up, comes down to her computer, and there's a note on the keyboard.
Yes.
And those are the types of things that, you know your spouse, and you know what they do, and you know where they might not realize that they're appreciated. And so that's something else that I want to encourage you to do. Men, not just you, women, you also. Be thankful for all of the things your spouse does, but try to recognize the places where you're thankful and you can tell your spouse might be unaware of it. Those are the ones that you really let them know how thankful you are, because not only will it surprise them, but it will be a real spark of encouragement, and at the same time, it'll let them know that the things they don't think are important are something that's worth you feeling gratitude about.
That's right.
One of the examples that Leslie had realized early on, I am fully capable of not only making my own coffee, but pouring my own coffee. She does that because she loves me, so it's an act of love there. But I try regularly to let her know that even though I could do that for myself, the fact that she takes the time to do that, I'm thankful for that. And so, my response to her act of love is an act of thankfulness. And so we see that they do go hand in hand. But, my act of thankfulness is also an act of love. And so even though it would be easy to confuse the two, what makes a difference between just an act of love and an act of love that's done with thankfulness? Communicating, being specific, let your spouse know what you're thankful for, and be specific about why it is you're thankful for it.
And some of you might be thinking, well, I can't find anything to be thankful for. Just not thinking about anything that's coming to mind that I'm actually thankful for. I would encourage you to start with a gratitude journal. Even if it's just a stack of 3x5 cards sitting by your place, and you just write a couple of sentences, I can be thankful for XYZ, bullet point them out or whatever, so that you can start training your mind to start looking for the things that you can be thankful for. And I can guarantee it that once you start looking for things to be thankful for, you're going to find them.
And some of them may be some things that are a little bit silly at first. They don't have to be grand. I am thankful that I have clean underwear today. Be thankful.
Hey there, we're so glad that you are spending some time with us today. I wanted to interrupt our conversation on gratitude in action and let you know that you won't have to use 3x5 cards like I just suggested. We have a gratitude journal that you can download for free. You can delve into a spiritual journey of thankfulness with this 30-day gratitude journal that's carefully designed to nurture your spirit and transform your outlook on life. This journal offers prompts that encourage introspection, reflection, and appreciation of life's tiny miracles. But that's not all. Each day is beautifully complemented with a Bible verse, infusing your journey with divine wisdom and spiritual nourishment. This journal is more than just paper and ink. It's a pathway to a more content, fulfilled, and thankful you. Start your journey towards a gratitude-filled life today. It's free. The link is in the show notes.
Because we all know there's times when we need to step it up as men to do the things that we're supposed to do, because things that we should do every day, maybe our wives, haven't seen. So they may say, well, I'm thankful that my windows were scraped when there was snow on the ground, or I'm thankful, and as we look at those things, we know that life gets in the way. Life gets busy, and sometimes the things like taking care of a child with a fever, or making sure that you get the extra work done, because if you don't, you have to do overtime this weekend, takes priority, and so the driveway doesn't get scraped as quickly or scooped as quickly as it could, or laundry sits for a couple of extra days because neither one of you has time to do it. That's the reality of living life.
Yeah.
And people who pretend that well, that doesn't happen because they don't want anybody to know that, you look at everybody else's social media, and you're like, oh, their life's perfect. I've got laundry on the floor. They do too. So
yeah, it's just not on camera, right?
So be thankful, because here's the thing. I'm thankful for the meal that was cooked. I'm thankful for the laundry was done. But it's not just that. I'm thankful that every single night before you go to sleep, you tell me you love me. I'm thankful for the touch when you walk by on my shoulder. I'm thankful for the way that you are so good with our kids, especially when they've completely messed up. You are wonderful for them. Express the thankfulness as specifically as you can. And here's something else that I want to encourage you to do. Strive to offer more than you take, and that will go with thankfulness as well. Don't let thankfulness be, I've been thankful, now I expect to receive some thankfulness. Don't play that game. It's too easy to get stuck. Instead, be willing to give thankfulness without worrying about how much thankfulness you'll get.
Absolutely. That is right. That is right. The other thing that I can think of too is when you're expressing gratitude, don't just say thank you. Right. If you can say it at a deeper level, if you're thankful for something that has really, really, really touched your heart, say, I appreciate that more than you know. Mm-hmm. Take it to a deeper level, deeper than just, oh, well, thank you for that. Because sometimes just saying thank you for that is kind of surface level, and and what you're grateful for has touched your heart more than that.
And if you can't do the words, do the actions, but learn to be able to express in words. And I know that some of you are like, I'm not that communicator. It's okay that you don't start there. But do your best to be able to grow into that communication. If you can't get the words to come out, there's ways that you can show that deep level of gratitude. So, I appreciate you more than you know can become the words that come out. Mm-hmm. Let it be the actions that come out first. I mean, there are things that we can do that will let our spouse know what you do is important. I recognize it. I'm grateful for it. And I will not take it for granted. Because in the midst of all the busyness that we've talked about, how many times do we feel like maybe my spouse is taking me for granted? It's usually not true, but the feeling's real, even if the thing that we think is causing it isn't. It's just we're busy, but the feelings that we're dealing with are real. Gratitude goes a long way to restoring hope where there hasn't been, to feeling like you're appreciated when you feel like you've been taken for granted. And so it seems like such a small thing, but it's not. And think about this. We're asking you to do the adult equivalent of what every single one of us have taught our kids to do. When somebody hands our kids an ice cream cone, what do we always tell them? Say thank you.
Thank you. Mm-hmm.
What do we forget by the time we're adults? To say thank you. And so one of the things that can really boost and help your marriage is a return to the childlike blessing of saying thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, no, thank you. I do appreciate you more than you know. But in all sincerity, we know that that's something that we encourage our kids to do because we know it makes a difference.
Yeah.
And we need to make sure that we encourage one another because in our marriage, it still makes a difference.
I wonder why we forget. That it still makes a difference, that it still can make a difference when we work so hard to teach our children that.
And, I think some of it is we get so busy. Some of it is we wrongly think that if I'm going to be a grown-up, I have to stop doing some of the things that I did as a child. That's true. But that doesn't mean you have to stop doing all of the things you did as a child, because some of those important things need to stick. Like gratitude's one of them.
Like saying thank you.
And so we really hope that you have enjoyed this month's topic of giving thanks. It's dropping right after Thanksgiving, and we want to have a heart of thanksgiving all the time, not just in November. But this November has been a reminder to us that an attitude of gratitude is something that will bless your marriage. And even though we've laughed, I want you to try to consciously remember what would happen if I had a tank full of thankful? What would happen if I had a plate full of grateful? Would I actually be able to express on purpose with intentionality and with specificity the things that I am grateful for that my spouse does for me? Because I guarantee those are the places where you'll see hope restored, where you'll see joy restored, where you'll see appreciation given. Love is a blessing. Thankfulness lets that blessing land.
Yeah, it does.
And
Very well said.
We're Doug and Leslie Davis. This is the Vision Driven Marriage Podcast, and we continue to pray that God will solidify your marriage.